sometimes things happen. No matter what I do, it happens. No matter what I could have done, this quarantine situation would have still been a reality. Can't do anything about it. Sometimes people die. Sometimes I lose jobs. Sometimes I get betrayed. Sometimes, yeah, it just happens. So today we're going to talk about bargaining. In the original video, I spent a lot of time talking about forgiveness as it relates to anger, and that it also can kind of relate to bargaining, but I didn't really spend a lot of time, due to the length of the video, a lot of time talking about bargaining. Bargaining is when we try to control things, when we try to manipulate the situation. So in terms of loss and grief and pain, when we are dealing with something where we've lost something or our reality is not what we want it to be, we try to do whatever we can to control it, especially if you're a fixer. Like I'm a fixer. If I see something that is broken, I want to fix it. I love mysteries. I love figuring things out. That's the way I've always been. And it's fun sometimes when it's fun and healthy. But sometimes it can be a really big weakness for me, because I've come upon situations in my life, losses, different things, where there was no answer. There was no fixing it. There was no nothing I could do as a human being to fix the situation. And so that's when I get frustrated, and it is a frustrating stage. And you can get stuck here very easily, as with all of the other stages. With bargaining, it comes, and I mentioned in the original video, when it comes to this quarantine that we're dealing with, bargaining might look like trying to do everything I can do. Let's just find everything I can do with my hands. Let me clean, let me organize, let me do this, do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Look, you need to clean, you need to organize, you need to get your life together. That's just the reality. And be thankful for the grace that you have time to do it. But when we just stay there, and when we feel like that should be the answer, when we're like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I should be fine, that I don't have to do anything else, that's when it becomes damaging. Is that we can't stop there. We can't just try and do things with our human ability and think that that's going to be the end all and the solution, because it's not. And so where forgiveness really connects with bargaining is that it is really the part of forgiveness where you forgive and release. Bargaining is really about releasing. It's really about releasing control. And so it has a lot to do with forgiving myself, or releasing myself, understanding that I am human. There's a lot of things that I don't feel like I handle correctly. There's a lot of things that I see and that I deal with that I don't necessarily want to always be there. I'm a human being, and I'm growing. I am perfecting or maturing. That's who I am. And the good news is that's who you are. And everyone who watches this video, no matter who you are, no matter what type of position or authority you have, or what kind of responsibility that you might hold in your life, we're all flawed. Even if you're the smartest person in the world and you're very capable and you've got all this talent, all this ability, you're still human, and you're still flawed, and you're still susceptible to failure. And when we realize that, for some of us, that's an excuse. So don't let it be an excuse. I don't like having to qualify everything, but I will say, don't let your humanity be an excuse to do dumb things. Don't sin and do crazy things just under the guise of, well, I'm a human and I'm going to mess up. No, that Paul said that there's grace and forgiveness for you, but God forbid that you use that as an excuse to sin and to do what you want to do. So don't do that. But when you're a type of person who hold yourself to a really high standard, and you have a difficult time with your humanity, you think everything should be perfect, everything should be without flaws, everything should be exactly right, or it's not acceptable. The problem with this, and here's the problem, is if I'm hard on myself, then I'm hard on everybody else too. And that's where it becomes an issue. Because if I look at myself and say only perfection is acceptable, then that's how I'm going to see the people around me. I'm going to look around at the people that I work with, the people I lead, the people I love, my family. I'm going to look at them and say, Well, because I think perfection is the only thing that gets the job done, I'm expecting perfection out of you, and it's an unrealistic expectation. They're not going to be perfect, just like you're not going to be perfect. I hate to burst your bubble. We're all about, ignoring denial, or overcoming denial rather, and realizing the reality. The reality is you're not perfect, and you mess up, and so do I. And so bargaining is releasing that control, saying, yes, there are some things that I can do. Yes, I can clean out my closet. Yes, I can cook dinner. Yes, I can work my job if I'm still able to. Yes, I can go to church online right now. Yes, I can reach out to someone in need. Yes, I have the ability to do a lot of things because God gives me the ability to do so. And because there are some things that I'm good at. I am talented in some areas of life, and I have put a lot of effort into growing my talent. I've put a lot of effort into becoming better in a lot of areas. So yeah, I'm going to be able to do some things. I'm going to be able to accomplish some things. But that is not true for everything. When I think that my abilities and my talents can do everything and that can compensate for everything, that's when it becomes an issue. So understanding that yes, I can do some things, but my abilities and my talents and my strengths are not going to fix this loss and this grief. It's not going to make up for it. It's not going to, there are some problems right now that I'm just not going to be able to solve. There are some things, and what this does is, obviously, this makes us smaller, makes us less capable. So then God is magnified in such a way that really highlights his power in the way that it should be highlighted in our life. So the Bible says when we are weak, he is strong, and that no matter what we go through, he is still God. And so that's where the power is in releasing control. I release the control of the situation that I really can't control anyway. I'm going to stop bargaining with God, with myself, with life. Sometimes things happen. No matter what I do, it happens. No matter what I could have done, this quarantine situation would have still been a reality. Can't do anything about it. Sometimes people die. Sometimes I lose jobs. Sometimes I get betrayed. Sometimes, it just happens. So when I lose control, or I release control to God, I release myself to be human. And it reduces anxiety, it reduces depression, it reduces frustration, and it allows me to then focus on what my purpose is, which takes us into the next stage, which is depression. So again, just like connection, time, expression moved us into the stage of anger, where we could then have the ability to forgive, which moves us into the stage of bargaining, which gives me the power to release myself, to be human, and also releases God and myself to then move into the next stage, or to deal with the next stage, which is depression. And the response to that is focusing on my purpose. So if I'm connected, I express, give myself time, I forgive, I release. I can then have the ability and the power to connect to my purpose and become who God wants me to become in this moment, in this grief, in this loss, in this situation. So I hope that helped. And our next video is going to be about depression and what we do with that.